been due to a technical problem. So New York Stock Exchange trading has now been halted due to a technical problem, according to CBS. So we'll keep you updated on that and quite a bit more here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. Citibank is now working on its own digital currency called Citicoin. So in a move that should be really of no surprise to anyone familiar with the space, Citibank has admitted to running a test platform for digital currencies and is now pondering its own solution called Citicoin. According to the International Business Times, Citigroup has built its own digital currency based on Bitcoin and the blockchain. This, in and of itself, isn't very difficult. Anyone can create a cryptocurrency in just a few seconds with a bit of programming knowledge. But the fact that Citibank, at least in its own R&D arm, is looking into the technology is actually quite promising when you think about it. Because you'd think that the Bitcoin system would be kind of a threat to the banking sector, right? That's what we would expect. We would expect that, Bitcoin is going to cause the end of the banks and all that sort of thing. That might not actually be the case if the banks get in on the game themselves or itself or what have you. The IBT, International Business Times, quoted Kenneth Moore, who's head of Citigroup Innovations Lab, saying, "We have up and running 3 separate systems within Citi now that actually deploy blockchain distributed ledger technologies. They're all within the labs just now, so there's no real money passing through the systems yet. They're at a pre-production level, to be clear. We also have an equivalent to Bitcoin up and running, again, within the labs, so we can mine what we call Citicoin, for want of a better term. It's in the labs, but it's to make sure that we are at the leading edge of this technology and we can exploit the opportunities within it." I like how they even use the word exploit. I mean, at least they're being honest, but it's kind of funny when you see them just outright explaining that, yeah, we're going to be exploiting this technology. While it's noble for banks to attempt these systems, and they will be attempted again and again, it's important to note, according to TechCrunch, that banks want control. As the writer of the article wrote before, banks are not afraid of cryptocurrencies. They're just nervous. Once one of the systems begins coming online, regulators will be forced to take notice, and this means everything from Dogecoin to Bitcoin to Citicoin will become targets of scrutiny. And targets of scrutiny for the government is something that's quite frightening for the target of that scrutiny. We'll put it that way. As it is now, though, it's not appearing that Citibank is going to be releasing any sort of Citicoin for the public to use, at least not yet. It would be kind of cool, but probably won't happen, unfortunately. I mean, anything that threatens U.S. dollar makes me happy, but it's appearing that that's really not going to be happening with Citicoin, at least not yet. It's one of those things where you say, oh, it's not going to happen, and then tomorrow headlines are, oh, Citibank has new digital currency. So you can't really say unequivocally that it's not going to happen, but it seems a little bit unlikely right now. Even Citibank is saying it's just in the pre-production stages. So in May, Bitcoin Magazine noticed a line in a Citigroup presentation that should remove any doubt that banks are definitely interested in this technology and what they think of wild and woolly Bitcoin, saying, "Due to the potential benefits, we believe the adoption of a digital currency is inevitable," they wrote. "While we believe the use of digital money is certain, the future of specific cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin is less clear." Now, Bitcoin has certain advantages over physical coins or physical money in some senses, in that it's easily exchangeable over the internet. But it seems like it's not really going to trump gold or hard assets anytime soon. I mean, which would you rather have, say, a firearm or a Bitcoin? It seems like a firearm is kind of an obvious option. Of course, with a Bitcoin, you could buy one, but it seems like a hard asset is usually better. It seems like a hard asset is usually the best thing to have in lieu of any sort of money. So usually items are worth quite a bit more than the actual currency used to buy it. It seems like it's better to have the actual item than to have the money with which to buy that item. At least that seems to be the case a lot of the time. Now, Citibank is working on its own digital currency called Citicoin. So what this means for the banking sector is they're trying to be hip and with it. Now, this could be good for us or bad for us. I think probably bad in the long run, just because banks are going to be exploiting the cryptocurrency system and convoluting it to the point where it's really not as recognizable as Bitcoin is, where it's not really the same thing. Where Bitcoin's supposed to be an open platform, Citicoin probably is going to be under some sort of control that Bitcoin is not under, and there's of course going to be scrutiny. There's going to be government intervention due to it being from a big institution. So we're going to be seeing some problems with Citicoin that are not necessarily there with Bitcoin. And plus, there's always going to be the problems of where can you spend it. That's a big problem that we have with Bitcoin right now, is where can I spend it? Now, there are Bitcoin debit cards that you can use. I mean, they do exist. But it's if you're not going to go through that option, it seems like it's kind of annoying to say, I want to spend Bitcoin at Walmart. Well, you can't really. It's not an option right now. You can spend Bitcoin on Overstock.com, and certainly you could probably find a way to live off of Bitcoin as your only currency, but it's not really that convenient. If you can make it convenient, you've pretty much won. That's the thing with a lot of these new technologies, and convincing the customer to use it is making it as convenient as possible. If it's super convenient, the consumer is, or customers, I like to say, is much more likely to use it than, say, if it were than if it were convoluted, but also technically better. So the better option is usually to make it as convenient as possible, and the more convenient, the better. So if Citicoin can make itself the most convenient form of buying and selling, then we may be seeing Citicoin as the prevalent currency. Who knows? So digital currencies may be, in fact, the future, where coinage, such as gold coins and silver, will go the way of the dinosaur, at least in the mainstream, which is what we pretty much have here. So which would you rather have? A form of digital currency or cash like we have today, which isn't really worth much of anything. In fact, it's barely worth the paper that it's printed on. So which would you rather have? Personally, I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence about it. It's one of those things where, on the one hand, Citicoin's kind of a cool idea, but on the other hand, I don't trust the banks. You see, I inherently just don't trust banks. They tend to not do the thing that's best for the customer because they're usually in league with the governments, right? So it's, if bank tends to be in league with the government because there's reasons for that, right? I mean, it's all the incentive in the world to be in league with the government if you are a bank or you own a bank. So it's not something that I normally trust because I don't trust governments, any government. It's not just that I'm prejudiced against the US government, although maybe I am. I don't trust any government because inherently governments tend to be, well, distrustful. It's or not trustworthy, I should say. Although governments are also distrustful, I'm not given a whole lot of reason to trust any form of government because they tend to not do exactly what I would do in situations in which they are in. Now, the U.S. State Department is further making an example of that, why you shouldn't trust any form of government. U.S. State Department now begins the nearly impossible task of banning 3D printed guns online. Now, how do you 3D print a gun online? Well, you don't. You can't. It doesn't work that way. However, the files for these 3D printed guns are, in fact, online. I have some, believe it or not. I actually have a CAD file for the Liberator and the Lulz Liberator as well. So it's not like it's not like this is a foreign concept to me, and certainly not a foreign concept to you as well. You probably heard about this on the news, the Liberator 3D printed handgun that was supposed to bring about the end of the world, and yet it didn't. Reason being, it's not a very convenient platform. It's actually a really inconvenient platform. What it does is it gets the job done. What it is it's a hunk of plastic with a removable plastic barrel with, that's it. It's just a hunk of plastic, and it only has one metal part, which is a firing pin, which can be made out of a nail. So a hammer is plastic. It uses rubber bands to actuate it. It has a locking system, which is again plastic, and it has a firing pin, which is a nail or needle or whatever you can find, sewing needle, what have you, that then pushes on the percussion cap. I always lose words when I think of bullets. The percussion cap, the primer. There we go. The primer that's on the rear of the round, the cartridge, and then that propels the bullet forward out of the plastic barrel. And of course, it's smoothbore. You can't really have rifling on a plastic barrel. It'll just get eaten away by the bullet as it passes through because plastic tends to not be harder than copper. So really, it's a very inefficient handgun. But it does prove a point that we can 3D print guns. Now, there are 3D printed AR-15 lowers that function quite well, so that would be another option. An AR-15 lower is what legally counts as the gun according to the BATFE, which is all my favorite things, by the way: alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. I love all of those things. So it's very handy for me that there's a department, bureau even, that's dedicated to all of the things that I like. Well, in the last decade, 3D printers have gone from a monstrously inexpensive, or rather monstrously expensive and marginally useful extravagance to something that a hobbyist can afford to play around with on the weekends. Consumer-grade 3D printers are getting good enough to create useful objects like phone docks, toys, and tools. You can even create guns from plans downloaded online, and that's what has the government worried. The U.S. State Department is trying to get out ahead of this one by banning the distribution of 3D printed gun files online. To call this an uphill battle would be an understatement. How do you ban something that's on the internet? You can try, but you can't. I mean, you can in theory ban it, but in practice, it's really not feasible. You can't get rid of something that's on the internet. As soon as it's online, it's there forever. unless nobody has ever seen it, in which case it may as well not be online. You see, what happens is if something is online, then millions of people download it, right? I mean, if somebody's viewed it, then they've essentially downloaded it. That's how you view a file anyways. You've downloaded it from a remote server. So what happens is, let's say you watch a video on YouTube. Now you're actually downloading that video. That's how you're streaming it. The same goes for Netflix. You're actually streaming it, which is downloading in its own sense. You're downloading it in real time and playing it in real time. So this then means that the file is essentially being downloaded to your computer. Simple as that. So that means then that you essentially have a copy. You do have a copy of that in a temporary folder on your hard drive. Now, this may or may not be interpreted in an easy sort of way by you, but I mean, you can do it. So you have that file downloaded. Same goes for when you're viewing HTML on your computer. You're downloading and interpreting HTML files, images, what have you, onto your machine into a temporary folder. So then you really can't just remove something from the internet permanently. It doesn't work. That goes for weapons, goes for images, goes for anything at all. So long as someone has viewed it, it can't be gotten rid of permanently, especially if someone has a backup of it. Again, the government can try all day to remove a file from the internet, but I mean, I have it, right? So how can they get rid of it if I have it? They can't eliminate it from existence if I own it. Simple as that. Well, the Conundrum was kicked off a few years ago when rudimentary gun parts started popping up as 3D printable files. If you've ever read about Cody Wilson, you know all about that. At the time, you'd need to invest at least a few $100,000 in the 3D printer because it's the Stratasys was really the best one to use, and it's hugely expensive. And the weapon you got was just as likely to explode as it was to fire a bullet. I would contend with that point, but anyway, the technology marches onward. The most famous example of the 3D printed gun was, of course, the Liberator, named after the gun which was dropped for French resistance troops in, well, France, in order to fight off Nazi Germany, which, again, was probably just as likely to explode as to actually work. It's a firearm, in this case, a modern one, designed by Cody Wilson and his company Defense Distributed, according to Extreme Tech. And there are videos of Wilson and others successfully firing off multiple 380 rounds from the plastic Liberator. Of course, 380 is essentially neck down and slightly less hot 9mm. 380 and 38 and 9mm are all the same diameter. It's just different powder charges and neck lengths. So 380 is essentially less powerful 9mm with different case and all that sort of thing. But really, you would almost be correct in saying that 380 is a less powerful 9mm. So to put things into perspective, that's what they were firing out of the Liberator. The Liberator handgun is just the start, of course. There are already designs for other guns and gun-related objects that would be illegal to buy and sell anonymously if they were produced in a traditional way. Again, I contend with that because you can sell a 3D printed handgun to another person, technically, if it's registered, right? I mean, if it has a serial number and all that sort of thing, then technically you can sell it if you're licensed to do so. And again, a private sale of an AR-15 lower is something that happens every day. It's not illegal, even if it's anonymous. You don't have to report those sales. Say, as an example, I own a firearm. Let's assume I do. I do, but let's assume I do. I own a firearm, and you want to buy it from me. Okay, you buy it from me. That's it. Nobody needs to know about that, and that's fine. That's a private sale. That's capitalism. That's how it works. That's just a private sale. Nobody needs to know about that. Even the government doesn't need to know about that. That's a private sale, and that's fine. So I'm not sure where they're trying to go for here at Extreme Tech, where they're saying that it would otherwise be illegal to anonymously sell these items. Perhaps in New York State, and even then I don't think so, because government controls over private sales would be a really big deal, which doesn't happen, especially with private gun sales, even and especially with private gun sales, actually. I can sell you a handgun in a private sale, no problem. You can sell me a rifle in a private sale, no problem. That's just how it is. So again, no problem. It's just the way private sales work. So I'm not sure where they're going for with that. But these new restrictions are part of a proposed change to International Traffic in Arms Regulations, or ITAR. ITAR is mainly concerned with controlling the import and export of weapons and related items in the U.S., and schematics would be considered under the purview of the law. Thus, posting a 3D printer file on the internet that tells a machine how to print the Liberator or any other gun will be considered exporting it, and anyone in the world could download it, which is very technical, but technically true as well. This is, of course, a very loose definition of export. I'm not sure where they're getting off with that. So I guess to legally go about it, I'd have to put the file on a USB flash drive or SD card or a memory device of some sort and hand it to you in a private exchange, thus not exporting it. Huh. Well, again, going back to the New York Stock Exchange now, an official is saying that there are no signs of malicious activity regarding the New York Stock Exchange halt. As of right now, the New York Stock Exchange trading has halted due to a technical problem, I should say. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been temporarily halted due to some sort of technical glitch. Officials said that at 11:32 a.m., there seemed to be a major technical issue with the NYSE system, according to CBS News analyst Jill Schlesinger. This is Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a mob mode. This is the mob mode. What kind of fool do you think I am? You think I know nothing about myself?
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Hi, this is your computer speaking. I don't feel so well. It's like I've come down with a bug, and I'm getting slower.
Affordable Computers. We fix sick computers. Your hometown guys at Affordable Computers will repair your PC in half the time of the big boys at an affordable price. No tricks, no gimmicks, no computer speak technobabble. Just good, quick, and courteous affordable service and repairs. Want to affordably supercharge your PC? Affordable Computers on Highway 58. Affordable Computers hand builds all desktops in-house. If you're looking for a better-than-new refurb laptop, $150 will get you a Dell or another name brand at Affordable Computers. Affordable Computers, Highway 58, between Arby's and Taco Bell. Also Fort O, Battlefield Parkway, near Holcomb's. Affordable Computers, we service what we sell. Call 499-1975. That's 499-1975.
Wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling great. Supercharged.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You love your hometown. Are you interested in free markets, in local economy? Do you hope that Chattanooga can survive the next meltdown, the next chain of disasters in the national economy? What's the best way to live out the ideals of self-government and self-determination? Join me, David Toulis, weekdays 1 to 3.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Love your neighbor, buy local.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu.
This is not your grandfather's Al-Qaeda.
That's the FBI Director James Comey giving Congress an earful about security issues, especially encryption concerns that federal law enforcement officials have. They say the right to privacy is not absolute and must be weighed against public safety concerns.
Comey says ISIS is recruiting followers on Twitter and immediately directing them to encrypt platforms, a technique called going dark. Technology companies and civil liberty groups have cautioned against new requirements. The CEO of Apple saying it could have a chilling effect on free speech.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. Trading has been halted at the New York Stock Exchange, waiting for more information on the cause. And the ground stop order now lifted for United Continental flights after their system was immobilized by computer problems this morning. Fox News. We report, you decide.
It's not just the New York Stock Exchange now, although it is in terms of stocks, but also many other services have been seeing problems. Wall Street Journal was down for a few minutes there, got a 503 error when I tried to check it just before the broadcast, and then again just now it was fine. Zero Hedge has been reporting on a few other things as well, being down. United Airlines, of course, has been having some problems. We're not sure about that. Not sure the cause of that is. They're saying it's a technical glitch. Looking at live feeds now from the New York Stock Exchange, just basically people walking around, pointing at computers and being very confuddled. It looks like people are very confused walking around New York Stock Exchange. People with their blue coats on, looking at the computers and being very confused looking. I wish I had a cool setup like they do, although with all those monitors, man. But people are looking very confused about the New York Stock Exchange. No malicious activity is what they're reporting. No malicious activity reporting relating to the NYSE halt. Again, we'll bring you the update on that. Coming out of CBS, trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been temporarily halted due to some sort of technical glitch. Officials said that at 11:32 a.m., there seemed to be a major technical issue with the NYSE system. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger has been reporting, saying, "We're currently experiencing a technical issue that we're working to resolve as quickly as possible." A New York Stock Exchange spokeswoman said in an email to CBS 2, saying, "We will be providing further updates as soon as we can and are doing our utmost to provide or produce a swift resolution, communication thoroughly and transparently, and to ensure a timely and orderly market reopen." The issue seemed to be confined to the New York Stock Exchange. The NASDAQ was up in trading just before noon and is still up now. Obviously, there is something in the mainframe of the New York Stock Exchange that is not allowing quotes to be disseminated. Financial expert Art Hogan told CBS News, "I'm sure it's being worked on as quickly as possible, and we're going to try to get trading back up and going." So we're seeing some technical issues across the board here in the national sector. Obviously, United Airlines had some problems as well that they've been trying to resolve, although it appears that the order has been lifted for them to stay grounded. Still, that was kind of an odd occurrence and possibly a coincidence. Not sure. United Airlines flights, though, have been grounded or were grounded by a computer problem. So we're seeing two computer problems simultaneously and some websites seeing problems as well. What's going on here? We don't know, actually. That's kind of the frustrating thing. We don't know. Obviously, there's going to be the speculation. It's probably them Chinese, man. Them Chinese are taking out our computers. We don't know. There's no way to know at this point. But United flights have now resumed after a computer problem. United Airlines has resumed on Wednesday morning, this morning, after they had been grounded worldwide for more than an hour due to a computer problem. We don't know what that computer problem was. They say network connection issue. What caused that, again, we don't know. The problems from Wednesday morning's glitch were likely to move into Thursday, according to their speculation. It appeared that that did not happen. It appeared throughout the city as well, oddly enough. So it appears that this morning's glitch will likely ripple through the day and even into Thursday, said James Record, professor of aviation at Dowling College. He said that the schedules are so tight that it will take a long time for United to restore normal operations after so many flights were disrupted, even if it's only for a bit more than an hour. Because remember, you have to remember that flights are on a very, very strict plan. Even within the company, never minding the FAA, flights are in a very strict plan. So if we see flights that are, say, grounded for any amount of time, this could lead to some problems with scheduling. If you've ever flown commercial, you know what I'm talking about. Flights are kind of a fickle thing, even just under normal operations. So when we see flights being grounded in this sort of way, kind of a problem. Although now they're saying that that they are back, although I don't have any reports of any planes being up in the air yet. Trying to get some news from the local area now. I'm trying to pull up. But United Airlines has now resumed flights after a computer issue. So we can confirm that now from a statement from United Airlines where they have resumed, according to this. United Airlines from Boston now. United Airlines was briefly grounded, and it grounded all U.S. flights amid a computer fault this morning, the second such setback for the carrier in less than 6 weeks. Automation issues triggered the move, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration said on Wednesday. United suffered a similar incident on June the 2nd, as you may remember, which we reported on here as well. The airline said on Twitter that it experienced a network connectivity issue that it sought to fix. The FAA has since ended its notice, and the airline is in the process of resuming normal operations. You know, it'd be funny if it was just some guy tripping over a Cat5 cable that caused all this. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, you see some of these pictures, especially if you go on tech support gore over on Reddit. Man, you see how just some things are just ridiculous in their setups, where some guy trips over a cord and causes a major problem, and it's just silly sometimes. Their server rooms are such a mess sometimes. But flights at Boston Logan Airport, where United is the fourth largest carrier, were delayed as much as 2 hours. Delayed flights are now scheduled to depart at 10 a.m., which should be actually, they should have already gone. And passengers are being allowed to check in, but their flights have not taken off yet. Some travelers took to social media to vent their frustration. Anthony Barrows on Twitter saying, United Airlines, why do you spectacularly disappoint me every time? Why do I ever fly with you? And quite a few other people saying, of course, United computers crashed the day I tried to leave for Guam via Hong Kong. Chaos in Boston. I'm a little stressed, actually, says Don Dizon to the Boston Globe, saying, I was in line for 2.5 hours. He's an oncologist at Massachusetts General Hospital who's flying to Guam with 4 other family members. He said that his flight had been delayed almost 2 hours, and the company was not responding to passenger questions on social media. Again, probably they had let's say, quite a few questions coming in over social media, so that might be a little bit understandable, but still, ouch. New York Stock Exchange, again, looking again at that, trading problem has been halted due to, or rather, trading has been halted due to a technical problem. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been temporarily halted due to some sort of technical glitch. We don't know what that is yet. Officials said that at 11:32 a.m., there seemed to be a major technical issue with the NYSE system. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger has been reporting on that. And again, about 11:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's been some sort of technical problem with the New York Stock Exchange. So we're currently experiencing a technical issue, they say, that they're working to resolve as quickly as possible. A New York Stock Exchange spokeswoman said in an email to CBS 2, saying we will be providing further updates as soon as we can and are doing our utmost to produce a swift resolution and communicate thoroughly and transparently and ensure a timely and orderly market reopen. The issue seemed to be confined to the New York Stock Exchange. The NASDAQ was up in trading just before noon, Schlesinger reported. Obviously, there is something in the mainframe of the New York Stock Exchange that's not allowing quotes to be disseminated. Financial expert Art Hogan told the CBS News, saying, I'm sure it's being worked on as quickly as possible, and we're going to try to get trading back up and going. So keep it tuned here to Hot News Talk Radio. We're going to be bringing you the news on the New York Stock Exchange situation and also the situation with United Airlines. And the Wall Street Journal was down for a few minutes with a 503 error. And I witnessed that personally with the Wall Street Journal being down. That tends to be my first stop whenever there's a technical problem. I go to first the AP, of course, and CBS because we have access to those, and then Wall Street Journal to see if anything is going on. We have access to CBS and Fox here at Hot News Talk Radio, so you get news a little bit faster than consumer side does, but still, it's really frustrating to see all these technical problems popping up simultaneously. It makes you wonder if there's some sort of correlation. We can't confirm that, obviously, and it may be just coincidence, but it seems a little bit strange that these things are happening all at the same time. So again, they're saying that it's a technical issue, not a cyber breach at the NYSE, and this is quite major news. All the news establishments are now reporting on that live. Everyone has switched over to the New York Stock Exchange for some reason. They're saying that it is not a cyber breach. So we'll keep you updated on that situation right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And this is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. We are everywhere. Listen live to Hot News Talk Radio at hotnewstalkradio.com. Download the TuneIn Radio app and search for Hot News Talk Radio. Hot News Talk Radio is on Twitter, where you report the world of sides. That's AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. AT&T is going to be giving poor people, in their own words, 1.5 megabits per second DSL for a mere $10 if the U.S. allows the DirecTV merger. AT&T is promising to offer cheaper internet service to poor people if it's allowed to buy DirecTV. Woohoo. This is similar to a promise that helped Comcast to gain government approval of its 2011 acquisition of NBC Universal. Qualifying residents in areas where AT&T's top speeds are below 5 megabits per second, that's not a typo, by the way, 5 megabits per second, which is crawling speeds, will be offered DSL service of up to 1.5 megabits per second where available for $10 a month. AT&T said in a filing with the FCC last week. It'll be $5 a month for the first year before rising to $10 for the next 3 years. AT&T is proposing a 4-year commitment in total. And in areas where AT&T's top speeds are higher, the company said that it will offer a broadband wireline DSL service at speeds up to 5 megabits per second in households in AT&T's wireline footprint for $10 a month for the first 12 months of service, rising to $20 a month for the remainder of the term of the commitment. So that's sort of the catch there. They say $10 a month for the first year. So you have to remember that part. It's $10 a month for the first year. And then after that, it's $20. So they sort of fool you with that one. So here you can get it from the horse's mouth that it is in fact $20 long term if you're going to stick with AT&T for longer than a year, 12 months. They'll give it to you for 10, and then after that it's 20. So go figure. Again, looking at the New York Stock Exchange, they chose to suspend trading to avoid problems arising from this tech issue. So it was a voluntary halt on the NYSE side, some sort of voluntary halt. We're not sure. Again, why? They just say tech issue. They're not saying what that tech issue was. This is putting considerable strain, of course. Dow is now down 207 points, according to these numbers that we're now getting. New York Stock Exchange trading has been halted due to a technical problem. And again, they're saying that it's a voluntary halt, and we're not sure what the cause is, what this technical problem is, other than just it's a technical problem. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange has now been halted due to a technical glitch that happened at about 11:32 a.m. NASDAQ and all other exchanges have not been impacted. Just after noon, numbers were moving on the NYSE's live board, but there was no announcement that trading had been resumed. It appears all orders have been canceled as well. A law enforcement source told NBC, or rather CBS 2, that there was no known threat against the stock exchange, but authorities are monitoring the situation anyway. They have no indication as of now that there was a cyber attack, according to CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pejue, or Pejue, perhaps. Obviously, there's something in the mainframe that the New York Stock Exchange is not allowing quotes to be disseminated. Art Hogan told the CBS News, saying, "I'm sure it's being worked on as quickly as possible, and we're going to try to get trading up and going ASAP. But as it is now, trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been halted." So we'll keep you updated on that right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And it appears, again, that the NYSE has been halted. There are people running around like chickens with their heads cut off down there on the floor. Otherwise, it seems to be quite clear. It looks like interns running back and forth. They have reporters on the ground now pointing out the computers. They have some reporters on the ground. Looks like from not Fox, looks like CNN's on the ground there, and CNBC is as well. You can see some camera crews on the ground of the NYSE. So if anything major happens, we'll break in and let you know about it. But other than that, it just looks like trading's been halted voluntarily due to a computer glitch here at Hot News Talk Radio. We'll keep you updated where we have you covered here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. Appeals judges are now going to be hearing about Prince's takedown of the Dancing Baby YouTube video. Yeah, you heard me right. A long-running copyright fight between the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Universal Music over fair use in the digital age was considered by an appeals court today, a full 8 years after the lawsuit began. The Electronic Frontier Foundation and its client, Stephanie Lenz, sued Universal Music Group, or UMG, back in 2007, saying that the music giant should have realized that Lenz's home video of her son Holden dancing to Prince's Let's Go Crazy was clearly fair use. Under EFF's view of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, Universal should have to pay damages for a wrongful takedown. If EFF wins the case, it could have repercussions for how copyright takedowns work online. The group is trying to make Universal pay up under 17 USC 512F, the section of the DMCA. I always get that messed up. DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, that penalizes copyright owners for wrongful takedowns. Currently, victories under that statute are exceedingly rare and happen only in extreme circumstances. In the age of the internet, though, it seems like copyrights are almost a moot point where you can take any work and put it up online. It seems like copyrights are almost null and void. I think about it this way. If you want to repost my show, I don't care. You can do that because it's not about me. It's about the message. That's what this is all about. It's not about, ooh, look at Russell. He's such a cool guy. No, it's about getting the message out there, which is the idea, of course, of free markets and local economy and all those sorts of good things and making people informed about the tech sector. It's not really about me. It's about you. It's about the listener, and it's about the ideas. It's not me. Right, I'm merely a spokesperson for the broader idea of perhaps anarcho-capitalism and libertarianism, perhaps, and with a little bit of capitalism thrown in there, and some local economy. But really, it's not about me. It's about the message. But anyway, I also like to focus on acts of brutality when they're committed by a representative of the state or the city or the county or municipality or township or whatever you happen to live in. In this case, it was New York City. big surprise, the NYPD now is apparently being charged some big bucks from a videotape of a pepper spraying of Occupy protesters, according to Ars Technica. So for 5 Occupy Wall Street protesters, they're now going to be, they were cordoned off and pepper sprayed by New York Police Department commander during the early stages of the movement, and have now settled their civil rights case this week. A video of the 2011 incident at Zuccotti Park, which they've embedded at arstechnica.com, by the way, in Lower Manhattan, went viral and helped to spark nationwide interest in the Occupy protests. Now, regardless of what you think about the Occupy protests, you probably agree that it's not so cool when the police pepper spray people who are otherwise not really doing anything wrong. I mean, you could say what you want, oh, the hippie scum, whatever, but really, it's not something that's worthy of being pepper sprayed in the face simply for standing in a certain location, right? Or, I mean, they're already cordoned off. What do you want them to do? It seems like the police get a little bit overzealous in these cases, and it's really just frustrating more often than not. In all, New York City agreed on Monday, I should say, to pay $332,500 to 6 protesters, 5 of which were involved in a videotape melee, and another who got pepper sprayed in a different incident, saying when you have neutral video that's exposing an unconstitutional practice, I think it really goes a long way in getting people's attention, including getting the city's attention and making them come to the table to discontinue this sort of practice, said Ayman Aboushi, an attorney defending the 2 of the protesters. Nick Palucci, who's the city spokesperson, said settling these cases was in the city's best interests. In total, New York City has now paid about $1.2 million to settle Occupy-related lawsuits. Of course, this is costing the city of New York quite a lot of money, and they're already kind of bankrupt, in which case I say, hey, bankrupt them even more. Why not? So it seems like New York City is in dire straits, both in the condition of its police department and in the condition of its lawsuit situation, where they keep having people charging them with quite a lot of money, actually, in civil rights lawsuits, where they're quite obviously violating people's rights, but for some reason the police unions will jump in to defend them, saying, "Oh, they did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. All they did was pepper spray some people who were nonviolent. That's okay, right? After all, they're dirty hippies, and the neocons will side with us on this one." And it really just doesn't work. And it's being shown more often than not. And of course, we're seeing a rather anti-authoritarian viewpoint a lot now. We're seeing people who have that viewpoint quite a bit now, especially here in the States, and it's really only spreading, and the police are looking worse and worse as time goes by, mostly because it's an authoritarian thing, and people are unhappy with them, understandably. So we keep seeing this, and it's no surprise when they're getting sued now, because people are realizing, hey, I can sue the police if they happen to do something against me. So it's working, actually. Settlements are working now, and it seems that the police departments are more likely to settle now than they're likely to try to fight back against it. So props to them. Apparently $1.2 million now the New York Police Department's had to shell out due to these lawsuits. So props to the protesters who managed to get some cash out of the NYPD. Good for you. A desperate man with a dying phone apparently tried to jump onto a Broadway stage in order to recharge it. So according to Ars Technica, a man attending a performance of the Broadway play Hand to God decided that he needed a little more juice in his iPhone just before the play started. So because any outlet is fair game when your battery icon is flashing red, he climbed up onto the stage and plugged his phone into a prop wall with a prop outlet that doesn't work. Of course, the outlet, like the wall, was fake. According to the New York Post, the crew had to stop the pre-show music and make an announcement to the audience that that sort of thing is not really allowed. One audience member copped to loudly heckling the idiot when ushers removed the phone and asked him to take it back. Like, please don't plug your phone into a fake wall. It doesn't actually work. It's unclear whether the act was done on a dare or whether it was actually a serious thing. Attendees speaking to the website Broadway Adjacent said that when the ushers gave the man his phone, the man asked, "Where can I charge it?" A statement brazen and absurd enough to suggest that the man was performing his own one-man play. So it seems that people, when their phones get low, get really desperate. I know how that is. I have an Android phone, and it gives a little beeping sound, and it gives you an alert when you're at 15% or lower. So it gives you a beep every time you go 5% below 15. So 15 gives you a beep, 10 it gives you a beep, 5 gives you a beep, and then I think at 3% it just powers down. But I know that feeling. I know that panic you get when you when your phone stops working, and it really is terrifying. But I mean, come on, you're at a play. You don't need to use your phone when you're at a play. I mean, we all know that situation, but really, it's just not worth it. Well, have you ever been frustrated with the internet that's on that's on airplanes and how limited it is and how it seems like it's dial-up speed sometimes. Well, Virgin America seems to be working to fix that. Wi-Fi is going to be fast enough for Netflix on some flights next year. Having connectivity in the skies is a luxury, to be sure, but it's often a slow one, according to The Verge. Airlines are blocking popular video services such as Netflix and YouTube for fear that they'll cripple the already fragile in-flight networks and prevent anyone from checking their email, tweeting, or even just browsing the web. But through a new partnership with Viasat, Virgin America seems to think that it's got Wi-Fi internet that can handle more intensive tasks, we'll say, such as video and audio streaming. And you'll finally be able to treat internet on a plane just like you're in at home. The speedier connectivity will go into 10 new A320 aircraft that Virgin will be receiving in September, and a beta pilot to test a faster service is going to be getting underway for select flights to Hawaii in early 2016. During that initial trial run, the new Wi-Fi will be free for Virgin America's travelers. It uses Ka satellite across the domestic U.S., and that will deliver speeds up to 30 times the speed of the original ATG that most airlines still fly, and 10 times that our current aircraft do, said David Cush, who's Virgin America's CEO, to CNBC. So quite faster internet is certainly always a positive thing. I know how annoying it is to have slow internet. And now if you're going to be flying across the country, say you're a businessman, you're going to be flying across the country to break a deal with Google, then you can have fast internet on the way there. So you can, well, Google search in a rather speedy manner. So props to Virgin for actually understanding the plight that we all have as internet users who really hate to have slow internet and really like to watch Netflix. So speaking of Netflix, it's announced release dates for its first set of original movies. Netflix has slowly been getting into the business of making original movies, but it's all been smoke and acquisitions up until now, according to The Verge. The company's announced the release schedule for first set of films, and some of which are coming this year. Arriving this year on October the 16th is Beasts of No Nation, and a new film from True Detective director Cary Fukunaga. And the film will be going live on Netflix on October, and it's also set to be released in theaters as well. And Ridiculous 6 will beat The Hateful Eight by 2 weeks as well. And some Adam Sandler movies, one of which is Ridiculous 6, although probably nobody's going to be watching that one. And it's going to have Sandler, Terry Crews, and Rob Schneider, and Nick Nolte all starring in the film, seeming like it's coming out of the mid-90s. Kind of odd. And again, looking at the New York Stock Exchange, United Airlines as well has been halted, but the New York Stock Exchange is still the big topic now. New York Stock Exchange trading has been halted due to a technical program. Again, they're saying that it's not a hack. That's what they're saying, not a cyber attack of any sort. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been halted due to a technical glitch of some sort. Officials said that at 11:32 a.m., there seemed to be a major technical issue with the NYSE system. And CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger has been reporting, saying that we're currently experiencing a technical issue that we're working to resolve as quickly as possible. A New York Stock Exchange spokeswoman said in an email to CBS 2 saying, we'll be providing further updates as soon as we can and are doing our utmost to produce a swift resolution to communicate thoroughly and transparently and ensure a timely and orderly market reopen. If anything else happens regarding this, we'll bring it to you here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. In the meantime, Nuganomics.com and David Toast is coming up right here on Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a mob mode. This is the mob mode. What kind of fool do you think I am? You think I know nothing of the
Arnie